So what's the deal with the LEGO Bionicle Pearl Gold Krokan Mask? Why is this thing worth close to $800? Well, let's talk about the story behind the mask and shed some light on this holy grail Bionicle LEGO piece. So yeah, this mask originally appeared in black in the original Makuta Pterodact set in 2003, but the bottom area here had 6 holes in it. In 2005, they brought the mask back, but released it in a flat dark gold color, and it appeared in the set 8758 Tower of Toa. It was one of the System Bionicle play sets, which included like minifigure Bionicle characters. They were really cool. But around this time, LEGO switched their standard gold color from old flat gold to pearl gold, which means there was a very short print run of the Tower of Toa set where the Krokan mask was produced in pearl gold instead of flat dark gold. So with that in mind, how many of these masks exist? Or how long were the variants of this set produced that included the pearl gold variant? Well, who knows, LEGO didn't really release that information. But this production change makes the mask very rare and very desirable for Bionicle fans. But alright, is this mask a little overpriced in the aftermarket? I mean, yeah, it's fair to say it is. 800 USD is a lot of money for one piece. But regardless, you can see that some on Bricklink have indeed sold. One sold in November in 2023 for $1,241.59. That's in Australian money, of course. And then other ones have sold for closer to $1,300 or $1,100, which roughly translates to about 800 USD. So, you know, people are willing to pay that price, so I guess that's what it's worth. Now, in the same year that they released that Tower of Toa set, they also released a few other System Bionicle play sets, and a couple of them came with some flat dark gold pieces, like this Visorak headpiece here. This one came in the set 8759 Battle of Metru Nui. And yes, there is a variant of this piece that also appears in pearl gold for the exact same reasons that the Krokan also appears in pearl gold. And yeah, you guessed it, it's also very rare and very expensive. Although this one is slightly cheaper than that Krokan mask. This one comes in at about 500 USD on the low end and around 700 on the high end. Still very expensive, but not as expensive. Now, by the same logic, this slightly different flat dark gold Visorak head that came in 8757 Visorak Battle Ram, well, it should come in pearl gold, right? But I've never seen one that exists, and Bricklink has no listings for one that's for sale in pearl gold, and it actually straight up claims that this piece doesn't exist in pearl gold. But there's no reason that piece couldn't exist. It's entirely possible that once the gold color shifted over, LEGO said, well, we're not going to produce this smaller set, we're only going to produce a few more copies of these 2 larger sets, and then this piece was just never made in that color. But who knows? I mean, we just don't know this kind of information because LEGO doesn't release this information to the public. So this piece could exist, or it could not. Who knows? So that's the story behind the Pearl Gold Krokan and some of the other pieces that have a similar story from the same wave of sets. But before, I mentioned that old version of the mask in black that had 6 holes at the bottom. And you may have noticed that the Pearl Gold Krokan and its other variants have 4 holes instead. Well, there is also a black variant of the mask that exists that has 4 holes inside it. This comes on the set Makuta Icarax, a set that came out in 2008, 3 whole years after the Tower of Toa set. So is there a difference in price between these pieces? Yeah, but not much. The 6-hole version comes in at roughly 27 to 30 Australian dollars, while as the 4-hole version in black is worth around 40 to 50 Australian dollars. Expensive, but nothing too crazy. So okay, we got a 6-hole version and a 4-hole version. Well, what if I told you there was another version as well? This one has 5 holes. Now, not much is known about this variant. Many believe it to just be a factory error. Perhaps this was a transition between the 6-hole version into the 4-hole version, but who knows? Now, I tried looking this up on Bricklink, but it doesn't have a listing for this piece. Well, it does, but it's currently pending approval, so I would classify that more as it not having a listing. So it's kind of hard to predict how much this is worth because it's not on Bricklink. Although, I checked eBay and there was one that recently sold on eBay and it sold for 396 American dollars. Now sure, that's not as much as the Pearl Gold Krokan, but it's still a fair bit. So yeah, the Krokan mask is a mask with a lot of variants and a surprising amount of rarity and history to it. Now I guess the reason the Pearl Gold one is worth so much is because, well, it looks pretty, plus it's the mask of the main antagonist of the Bionicle storyline in a pretty gold color, and there are many people who wish to collect every single Bionicle mask, And if you're a completionist, well, then you have to have this one, and it's not easy to get. Now you may be asking, Ben, how did you get yours? Well, I got mine back in, I think, like 2012. I bought a bulk lot of Bionicle Masks on eBay, and it just happened to be included in that bulk lot. I got a bit lucky in that sense. Now, if you want one, I recommend doing exactly the same, looking through bulk lots online, or perhaps in your local area, and just hoping that there's one in there. It's entirely possible that, like it happened with me, someone had one and just didn't know what it was worth, and they let it go for way cheaper than it should have gone for. So yeah, it's worth looking into because, man, it's an awesome collector piece, and if you can get one for cheap, then lucky you. So that's a bit of history about this rare Bionicle Mask. If you enjoyed the video, I'll potentially discuss some other rare Bionicle Masks in future videos. So let me know your thoughts. Happy collecting, guys. Bye for now.